Marissa, and I am the crafter behind Missouri Makes. You can find me on Ravelry as Missouri Makes, as well as on Instagram as Missouri_Makes. I am here in Doniphan, Missouri with my wonderful husband and my lovely stepdaughter with our 2 cats and our dog who just had puppies under our house. We knew that she was coming close to having her puppies, and we had set everything up on the porch, but when we weren't home we let her outside because she would mess and it would be a big mess, and so we figured it would be easier on her and us both if she was outside during the day while we were both at work. But if I was home, she would be on the porch and I'd let her out when she had to use the bathroom and stuff like that, so it wasn't that big of a deal. Last Thursday, today is Thursday, July 1st, and so last Thursday we left to go pick up Jody, and when we got back she was gone and we didn't know where she was for a day and a half. And then we figured out she was under our house and she had her puppies. And so far as we know, there's 2. I don't know how many she had because she is a full-blooded blue heeler and the daddy is a full-blooded German Shepherd, so I didn't know how many puppies she was going to have. But it's a rainy, gloomy day today. Still a bit warm. Not horribly hot, but it's still humid. And I figure the next day or so, since it's been a week, I figure in the next day or so we will start trying to get the puppies out and put them in the kennel that we have here on the porch until we can get the back room, well, not back room, the backyard worked up for the fence area. But yeah, so we got at least 2 more additions to the family. That is until we can find them good homes. My husband wants to get rid of the cats as well, but we ain't getting rid of the cats. I like my kitty cats. And I like Jenny too, but she's better to be an outside dog because when we got her, she had lived on a farm for 2 years. She's around 2 years old. And so she'd been on a farm her whole life. She didn't know what it was like to be inside. And so to me, she's better off being an outside dog. And we do have the land. We've got a couple acres here, and she can roam on it and whatever. And then she can come up on the porch and all that whenever she's ready. I don't let her on the porch as much right now because I know she's got babies that she's got to tend to, and I don't want to forget that she's on the porch. So, but whenever we can manage to get the babies out and on the porch, then I guess they'll be living on our porch until we can get the backyard cleaned up. I told Doug if she had a boy that we would, I told Doug, we agreed on, and he denies that we agreed on it, but we agreed on keeping 1 male dog and then finding homes for the rest of them, including Jenny, because we don't want to have to deal with puppies again. It's a lot of work. So, yeah, we're going to keep a male dog, most likely if she had one, and then find homes for the rest of them. And then we've got our 2 cats in the house, Fern and Maple, which if you've seen my Instagram, they're all over it. A lot of Fern because she's the baby. She's a teeny tiny little kitten and she does goofy things, and I like to take pictures and record it. So, but Maple's in there too. She's a little snooty, just a little bit, but she's a good cat. So, now that I'm done rambling, how about you grab you a cup of something and let's go ahead and get into this week's episode. I don't have a lot to show you today, and it feels like I should have more, and I don't know where it's at. I have lost things. If I find them, I'll just bring them into the next week's episode. But I've been working on some things. One of them being my cardigan that I have finally finished. I worked for 2 days trying to get the construction correct for sewing. I sewed the arm up and figured that out, but the back of it was making me bumfuzzled, and so I wasn't sure. I ended up adding more to the spine of the back and then more to the bottom, and while I could have probably made everything a little bit bigger, it does fit and it works just fine. But here it is in all its glory. I used, if you haven't seen my other episodes, what it is it's 2 hexagons that I crocheted and put together, and each hexagon has, let's see, here's the center of the hexagon. We have 1 skein of Yarn Bee Glowing Mariposa Prairie. Okay, so in the center I did 1 skein of the Yarn Bee Mariposa Prairie, the glowing stuff, and then I did 1 skein of Dollar Tree's Premier Just Yarn. I don't know what it's called. I'm assuming just yarn because they have just cotton. So it's just 100% acrylic, and the Yarn Bee is 60 acrylic, 40 polyester. But I did 1 skein of the white, and then here, because it was so big, 1 skein here only did a small stripe, so I put half of another skein into this hexagon to kind of even it out. And I did the same over here. So each hexagon took 1, 2.5 skeins of the glowing Yarn Bee Glowing, and then it took 1 skein of the Just Yarn in white. And then for the sleeves, I did in the Just Yarn, Premier Just Yarn, and then the ribbing around it too. And what I did was I took and just bordered the whole entire thing. I went all the way around, so it goes around the neck all the way down to the bottom part of the cardigan, all the way around. And I did that in single crochet ribbing, and all I did was chain, I slip stitched to one of the stitches, chain 11, single crochet in the second stitch from the hook and across, and picked up my stitches back and forth to create the ribbing, which is the way I like to do ribbing whenever I do hats and garments and stuff like that in crochet. I don't know why, I just think it's a cleaner ribbing. There's many ribbings that I use, but I tend to lean more towards that one. And that took the ribbing around the whole thing plus the sleeves took 1 3/4 of another skein to do. So quite a bit of yarn. I don't know how much in total. Now, I don't know how much the one, oh, here's a label I can use. Okay, so there's 131 yards per skein of the Just Yarn, and 198 yards for the Yarn Bee. So you can kind of calculate how much that is if you decide you want to make one yourself. And I did a little video, little tutorial on how to do whip stitching and stuff like that, how to sew it. But if I'm smart enough, which future Marissa, you know, do some editing here, put the video, because I took and did a little video of me wearing it so I can show you how it looks. And the inspiration photo that I seen was off of, I believe, Make and Do Crew. and hers is bigger. So I figure I could have done mine a little bit bigger and have been okay. But with as big as the sleeves were, how poofy they were, I didn't want it to be too much bigger. So I went ahead and just stopped while I was ahead and did that. But yeah, hopefully I put a video in of me trying it on and all that. I don't know if I mentioned it at the beginning of the video, but anything that I mention in this video and past videos and most likely future videos unless something happens, it will all be listed in show notes. I have a group on Ravelry that I make all of my links and all that. I have a list in my group in Ravelry for this week's episode and past week's episodes. So if you want to look at anything that I mention, you can go to my Ravelry group and hopefully find everything you're looking for. If there's something missing, you can always contact me and I will do my best to fix it. Okay, well, here, we'll go to whips. I really haven't been working on a whole lot. I've got a secret project behind the scenes that hopefully I'll be able to show you soon, but I can't show you today. But besides that, this is the only other thing that I've really been working on, and it's just a simple washcloth. And I finally, another yarn haul. I finally found Just Cotton at Dollar Tree. I've been looking for it for months and haven't been able to find it. And when I went to Dollar Tree because I needed more of the Just yarn for my cardigan, and just so happened to find the Just Cotton. And so I was very, very excited to be able to find it. This is Premier's Just Cotton in color pink. I got pink and I got white. It's considered a number 4 weight, but I think it's thinner. I think it's a thinner 4, in my opinion. There is 104 yards per skein, 85 cotton, 15 polyester, 60 grams. And I grabbed 2 skeins of each. And I'm working with 2 of them here in this washcloth, which I think is pretty. I'm not usually one to go for pink. I usually lean towards purple. But I wanted to go out of my comfort zone in colors and pick something, because I do think pink is pretty. I don't think that I'm girly enough for pink, in my opinion. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I just don't usually lean towards pink. I like purple, and I like blue. But, yeah. And all I'm doing in this is different stitches for different textures. I've got some, we've got stockinette, and I did some sort of like seed stitch there. All I did really was I took and did knit purl for one row, and then the next row I just did, if I was on the wrong side, I did all purls. If I was on the right side, I did all knits. So one row is the seed stitch, and then the next row is just plain stockinette. And then I did some garter. I couldn't think of the name there for a second, but I just did some plain garter here and here. Some different textures just to play with stitches. But yeah, I'm using a size 5, US 5, 3.75 millimeter knitting needle, and the stitches seem to be coming out okay. It's not really dense. You can tell there's still drape in it. So, but yeah. And let's see, I did my squares. I'm not sure where I put them. I think they're in there. Hold. Okay, so I don't know if I showed this in a previous video, but this is stuff that I've done in June. I just did another washcloth here, and this is the camel stitch or third loop in half double crochet. I have a video tutorial for this on my channel that you can watch. It's just a simple round washcloth. I gotta hide my ends, but kind of looks like garter on this side. And this is just some peaches and cream cotton that I got from one of my yard sale hauls. And it's just a number 4 weight cotton, kitchen cotton. It ain't nothing special, but it does the trick for my house. Everybody likes it here, so. And even though I didn't follow June's bingo, I did go ahead and make the cow square. And this is this month's square that I'm doing. What I've been doing is, let me see if I can find one. Nope, that one's solid. Hold on. Okay, we'll use this one. I don't know if this is one I made or if it's already like that, but we'll use it as an example. So, if you look, there's several colors in here. I think this one was already pre-done like this. But whenever I got my yarn winder in and started setting up my shelves, I would take the little bits of yarn that were too much to be a scrap ball of yarn, but not enough to do anything with. I would take and put coordinating colors together and make cakes like this. And for this month's square, I just grabbed a couple of those cakes and went to town on it. And this is what I got out of one. I was kind of disappointed that no more of the color showed up, but just one. But I figure that whatever I decide to do, it'll end up going in it just fine. And then this is the second one, because I've been doing 2 each month. It's kind of blowing out. Whew. A little bit better. Red, orange, and then gray. I figured that'll make a good addition to the squares. It's still blowing out. But anyways, you saw it in the tan color, so you know what it looks like. But I did go ahead and do those. I didn't follow June's bingo because I just didn't feel up to it. But I figured y'all wouldn't mind. I mean, if I miss a month, I miss a month at this point. I'm not too worried about it. Life happens, and you just keep going. And last but not least, I think this is my last bit that I've got for this week, and it's yarn. So what I did was I took my, up here above my head I have yarn that I dye, and sometimes I put it in my shop to sell, sometimes I keep it for myself depending on what it is and if I can recreate it, pretty much. And what I wanted to do, because I have jacquard acid dyes that I use to dye my yarn, I wanted to try to get a gist of DOS. Depth of shade is what DOS stands for. I wanted kind of a depth of shade, and what I do is I take and chose 3 colors. I chose a gold yellow, I chose a pink, and I chose a turquoise. And I took those 3 colors and I took and mixed them in different ways to create different shades of color on my yarn. And I got this idea from Rebecca from Kim Knits, because before I started dyeing yarn, I was watching her dye yarn, because I love dyeing yarn. I love the art of dyeing yarn. It is one of my passions. I love it, and I want to improve on it. So I took the time and grabbed one of my 100-gram non-superwash Peruvian Highland wool, and I took and put it on my yarn Swift, that's what it's called, and wound it up in 10-gram hanks so that I could do a dye sample. And if this is something you're interested in, I can go ahead and do a video on how I do this process. And so what I did, now these are separate because I kind of got these mixed up. I'm going to have to redo these because I don't know which one's which. What I do is I take and as I'm mixing up the different samples, I write them down. And I thought that I wrote everything down clearly, and these got mixed up, but I don't know if you can tell the different shades of green. I know you can in one of them, but this one right here, that one there, you can tell a difference in, but the rest of them. But I got some really good shades of green. These are all 10-gram non-superwash Peruvian Highland wool. It's a sport weight. And then I got this creamsicle orange here, and a good golden yellow. We've got a sky blue or an ocean blue, more of a turquoise. We've got a what is it? Cotton candy. I don't eat it, so I don't know. Cotton candy pink. This is more of a denim blue. And then I have another shade of turquoise. And what I did was, once they were dry, I took, and the ones that I could recognize, I took and labeled. I've got, like, see, this is number 9, and then on the back side I have the potency of the dye that I used to create the shade, and that way I can just go back and look at my samples here and figure out what color it is that I want to do for my next project. But yeah, I did that, and I plan to do it with more shades. I think that I'll pick a red instead of a pink this time and see what I can get. I think that it would be pretty to take, like, maybe the denim blue or the turquoise and dye the whole skein that color, and then take and over dye it with a pink and see what shade of color I get. I figure it'll be a purple, a shade of purple that's going to be really pretty. Or you can take the turquoise and then over dye it in red, and you'll get more of a cranberry color, I figure, a cranberry purple color. I don't know. I really want to play with it all and see what all I can get. But yeah. And I always link in the show notes and in the description box my shop where I sell yarn. I don't have anything in it currently, but you can go ahead and follow me and sign up for my newsletter. And in my newsletter, I will always notify in there first whenever I have new yarn available. So if you want to keep an eye out for my yarn, then you can sign up for my email, and those who have signed up to my email will get notified first. So that's just a little tidbit. But yeah, I think that that is all that I have for this week. All I have is I did my Dollar Tree haul, which was 6 skeins of yarn. I know, big haul, but I was really excited because I got my cotton yarn that I've been looking for months. They've had the chenille yarn and they've had the just yarn there, but they haven't had cotton. And I knew that they were supposed to because the sign that they have that goes with the yarn, it has cotton in it. And so I'm thinking there has to be cotton at some point. I'm just missing it. And finally, whenever I went Saturday, because we went to a 4th of July thing Saturday. When I went Saturday before we left for Ravenden Springs, I went over there because we had to go by the dollar store. And they had it, and I was excited. Made my day that I got to get some cotton yarn. I know that it's just cotton yarn, but I've never had Premier cotton yarn. Before I got Dollar Tree stuff, I don't think I've ever had Premier yarn. At least I don't remember ever getting Premier yarn. And so it's cool to get Premier yarn. And it's a soft cotton. It's softer, to me it's softer than Peaches and Cream or Lily Sugar and Cream. It doesn't feel as rough as that. This is something that I would probably use for garments. It's lightweight and it's soft. I wouldn't use the Lily Sugar and Cream or Peaches and Cream for garments. To me it's too stiff. Flies. But anyways, I think that is it. I hope that y'all have a wonderful weekend and stay crafty.